AI does not fix incompetence. When we talk about AI as this solution that's going to come in and just wipe out jobs, maybe in a couple of years, but today I still think the human part of the process and the system and being a manager, being a people leader, being able to create systems that actually make sense and pressure testing them, that's more valuable than the AI doing the work.
Welcome to Connect to Market. I'm Casey Cheshire. Join us as we learn from marketing leaders who are driving founder-led growth. We're sponsored by Ringmaster, building B2B podcasts and communities to reconnect you with your audience. All right, let's freaking go. I'm excited. I have hit the button. The train is leaving the station. We are about ready to learn, have a good time, have some fun, or maybe just we're going to chat about AI for an hour. Like, I don't know where this is going to go, but it's going to be awesome because my guest today is cool. Man, he is a badass. Former king of Peru. He is a marketing leader, a thought leader. He's in the CTM community. You probably bumped into him in a breakout session. Demand gen, automation, you name it. And I love these days when you infuse the AI side and the human side. And he is that. He is constantly building on the AI side, but at the same time, his most proud accomplishment is being a good husband, a good father. Podcast host of the Edge Tech podcast, VP of marketing at SNUC, David Kosloski. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you. That was a very, very nice intro.
Yeah, when you're doing a lot of stuff, man, you deserve it.
Yeah, thanks. Did a lot of stuff too. The King of Peru, I would not claim that or title, but
so that was incorrect. You were only the high priest.
I'm not Peruvian.
You had a great time.
I did, yeah. It was a great time with a lot of great people, and still keep in contact with them. But they're definitely more the kings, if you will, and queens. So
fair. But you're still the king in my book. So let me ask you this first question. And
sure.
It's the same question we ask everyone on this show. But in order to ask you this question, I must first put on this giant blue foam finger to ask you, dude, Dave, what is the number one thing that marketers need to do in order to connect to their market?
Sure. To me, it's build trust and build that authority, right? I think everybody talks about it from an SEO perspective is like EAT, expertise, authority, and trust. And I do think that stands with like people buy from people. And how do you create that trust and that thought leadership, informing the consumer and the customer? A more informed consumer is a better consumer. And this goes across like all elements of like B2B, B2C, personally, I think, and it's up for debate as everything, but I think being able to share that you're developing a product that you're knowledgeable about and the issues that people are facing is like the most important part of marketing, and that you're solutioning problems versus, I work in hardware, it's kind of a commodity to a degree. We have some great pieces and specs that we offer that are unique at the company, but a part of that comes to why are you actually buying from us and what are those sales points? And they're usually not hardware driven. Sometimes they are, but more often than not, it's just developing that relationship and being an expert in the space and being able to say, this is what I recommend. And by developing that trust, they're willing to listen to you and hear you out. And that creates a great relationship. And when you have that relationship and they trust you because they know you're educated in that area, it makes the process and the buy-in journey a lot easier.
Yeah, totally get that, man. But you know what? You threw out an acronym right at the start. EAT.
Mm-hmm.
Expertise, authority, trust. And I love how on this podcast, really smart people come out here and throw these things out like I should know that. And then now I feel like I should know that, but at least now I do. Tell me more. Like, is this just common? You've heard this in like the content circles a lot?
Yeah, and I'm gonna actually just really quick Google to make sure I didn't mess it up. But yeah.
No, it sounds right. And if not, you should put your name next to it because it sounds great.
Yeah, well, so it's actually experience, expertise, authority, and trust. So, but it's like the core principles of how you generate great content, and I think it's historically what SEO wanted. In terms of like how like eventually pull information, it's one of the areas. So the authority piece came from like I believe like having a high domain authority, and the experience came from like the thought leadership pieces that you're writing in there. And what's interesting is that I would assume, or and this is a claim, but from an AIO, AEO, however you want to call it, artificial intelligence optimization, is also pulling a similar model, right? We're not just going to pull somebody who's a Joe Schmo on the street who's saying, "Hey, this is why inbound marketing is the best," right? What we're going to do is we're going to look at organizations that have a foothold in the industry. They are working with other giants in the space or other people in the space, and they're all working together to be able to say the same message. And I think that's where E kind of comes from is it's informative, and then it also drives, just on a side tangent, it also drives like the mediums that you're developing information in.
Yeah.
Right now you're doing a podcast, but who's to say that the podcast couldn't be a blog, couldn't be an image and an infographic of the things that you're discussing today? The 10x content strategy that I think Moz coined years ago, being able to take the material that we're learning and producing and diversify it, creates that authority and that knowledge.
Got it. Where do you start from that? I mean, it just feels like eating a whale, you know?
So historically, I would have pulled like a keyword list and attacked it from this. Okay, this is what people are searching for. But right now, I work in a space that's pretty unique. And what makes it really exciting is that while we're working what we call edge computing, and we enable AI at the edge. And so people are putting models or agents or what have you in really extreme environments that are not in a server room. And so I say that to say, like, that's kind of an emerging market. And so I can Google, use SEMrush or Ahrefs to be able to do some research on this. But at the end of the day, I'm kind of carving out our own space. And so
Mm,
the approach that we take is I actually started a podcast, Edge Tech Podcast. That was my first step of to understand in the space. And there's multiple mediums, right? You can interview people in the company and ask questions like, where do you think we're going? Why do we develop this feature on this product? What makes us different than others? And why ruggedization versus standard and traditional? And then as you learn about what you do and what your solution and what you're providing, that increases your expertise, right? And so now you can start to ask yourself, all right, well, if I'm a customer and I'm in this world, what do I care about? And that comes from case studies and interviewing people. But at the end of the day, creating a mind map of like, what are all the things that we want to accomplish and what does that web look like? And at the center of it is the issue that you're fixing in the space that you're fixing it. And then you branch off and you create multiple solutions that answer that core function or as a piece of that core function. And that can be in multiple mediums. If you have an unlimited budget, you're doing podcasting, blogs, infographics, webinars, trade shows, you name it, right? You're doing everything. And you're right, it is a whale. And so it's picking and choosing your strengths and how do you leverage your strengths against your weaknesses and taking those strengths and really compounding them. So mine just so happens to be content. That's what I was like born into.
yeah.
And that's what I lean into most, but we hire around the opportunities, right? So we have a great product marketer we just brought on board, and we've got a great marketing director. She's phenomenal, and a creative director that is great at the creative side. So, yeah, it's definitely a team effort versus like a one person show.
Do you think this is, I mean, maybe it's rhetorical, but how do you think it's changing with AI coming in? And AI getting smarter? Because I remember even like a year ago, it was kind of like, middle schooler, and you're like, okay, cool. You're cute. Nice poem, you know, moving on. But it has continued to get more and more powerful.
Yeah, for sure. So AI definitely plays a part, and I think it's one of those things like if you don't learn it, you're going to be obsolete. You have to be a part of it. You have to integrate it into your systems and your workflows and your day to day. Um, I would say I'm personally probably a little bit of an earlier adopter. I still think that I'm not like I don't think I'm anywhere near an expert. And so when I say that, I feel like this is a harsh comment, but AI does not fix incompetence. So when we talk about AI as this solution that's going to come in and just wipe out jobs, maybe in a couple years, but today I still think the human part of the process and the system and being a manager, being a people leader, being able to create systems that actually make sense and pressure testing them, that's more valuable than the AI doing the work. The only reason the AI is going to output something that is good is because you built a system that allows for that. If you just go into ChatGPT today or Claude or what have you and say, hey, write me a blog about inbound marketing, it's going to probably write you something okay, but off what parameters, off what system and structure. And the way that I like to treat AI today when building agents is essentially what People talk about master prompts and they use them for their own GPTs, but the structure I like to build is like, if I have a team of employees, what's their job description? Like, what are they going to do? What am I looking for? How am I grading them? And then create another agent for that to pass off to there to grade it, and then create a loop system that makes sure that my output is better. And then in the future, obviously feeding it what is right, because it's usually wrong. And it's not that it's insanely wrong. It gets me 80% of the way, but then how do I keep training it, the agent and the master prompt or what have you, to um, be able to produce the results that I desire?
Are you
So,
building giant master prompts?
not so much anymore.
Yeah, I've noticed I've stopped doing that as well. It's
Yeah,
interesting.
it's getting, my system's pretty unique. So I recently was at GTC and I won basically a DGX Spark, GX10, the Asus version. I won it at an Asus event. And so
Okay.
I run a lot of local LLMs, and I also run Claude from the cloud. I have that $200 a month subscription. And so what I do is,
You're one of the 200 a month guys.
yes, sir. Yeah. And I'll give a plug to Cole Meaden, who runs a community called Dynamis AI, and a big wealth of knowledge. I'm a pretty big believer in like sharing information when it comes to this stuff. But Cole created some great frameworks, great courses on agentic AI, developed some really cool stuff that was not a competitor to OpenClaw, but basically, he's a developer, I think, by trade, and then really deep dove into this AI world. And I think having foundations when you're building stuff is really important, because I'm not a developer, so I don't know Python, and I'm having to kind of guess and play through it. But to the master prompting side, the structure that I'm building is really the architecture of how I want everything to work versus long master prompts. So like, any issue I come up where I'm asking myself, okay, is this a rinse repeatable process? If it is, I need to build a system for it. And is it going to be a skill or is it going to be an agent? And then there's just this, I think Cole invented it, but it's basically the piv loop. And how are we, um, how are we basically planning, implementing, and validating the system and making sure that it actually works? And once it is working, good, it's great for production. And it will probably adjust in the future, but it's less about the master prompt and more about the systems, in my opinion, and making sure that the results are sort of producing what we want.
Man, you just drop nuggets from the sky like a apple tree. It's been like dropping apples on heads. A couple things I'd love to pick up. Skill versus agent. Where do you see the distinctions happening?
So I'm not a pro, but
Yeah. No. This is a marketing pod. I mean, so we're just
yeah,
we're all marketers just coming together and piecing things together, But because it is you and I talking, it is, the undeniable truth of whatever. And no
yeah,
one needs to ever fact check us ever,
yeah, for sure. So right now, I essentially created not an OpenClaw, but like we'll call it a competitor to OpenClaw. And it was all built internally, and the skill part for me, what I have is a framework that helps me identify if it's a skill or an agent. And so an agent would be, I need you to go out and search the web and do research and then report back and like put it into a document in a markdown file, and really autonomous tasks that maybe are like happening organically. Whereas a skill would be, I need you to look at my calendar or look at these meeting notes and help me formulate a response. And I'm teaching it like, so I have a couple different things right now that I'm working on. So I've got a CMO coach that helps me communicate to the C-suite things that maybe are, C-suite always wants ROI, right? Like that's kind of like the
Yeah.
big crux of like, okay, if we're going to spend $1,000, how do I get 10,000
Yeah.
back? And sometimes in marketing, that's just not necessarily easy to equate, right? The attribution model isn't always there. So
It's
I
not.
wanted to have somebody that I could bounce my ideas off of to say like, how can I pressure test this and show that there's a value add when it comes to leading indicators? And so I gave my agent a skill that allows the agent to be able to tap into another LLM that does deep research, that then pulls information from that deep research and then helps the agent sort of process the information to be able to communicate back to me. So it's more just like I need you now at this point to stop wearing this personal assistant hat and now wear a CMO hat and help me understand without me having to prompt it, which to me saves so much time. So,
Right.
and it works pretty damn well, if I'm being honest. So it's great for medium prep too.
Yeah, it's great when they kinda, like, make that leap for some of the things that the details that you left out. I know I didn't specify the noun, the object, I didn't specify the process, even though we did it 4 other times, but it picks up on it and it's like, You mean this?" I'm like, "Yeah, actually, that's great. Let's keep going."
Yeah. And having in today's world, I think the biggest win for us, and I think you talked about a tool that you're using today that's I think essentially probably doing this on the back end.
Yeah.
You know, using something like Obsidian, Notion, having a lot of markdown files and having a map essentially linked together of like how they're all working together. Basically, you're building hopefully a rag and being able to pull from that in making your agent an expert in these areas. So my current personal assistant today operates within 4 different areas, and it's my day job, my personal life, and then 2 other things that I'm working on. And in those areas, I have to have it wear different hats, and like it can't do that if I don't have my data structured correctly. So I think that's also really important, like making sure that I'm inputting constantly information about our products at work of, hey, this is, this is a sales feature, but this is also like an area we ran into where a customer bought from us because of X. And so
Yeah.
you're making it smarter by doing that.
Pivloop. Where'd you bump into that? Just
So Cole, the guy who runs this AI community, actually, I
Yeah.
think coined it. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to coin anything myself yet. I just steal from everybody
We'll
else.
work on it
You're-
today, Well,
Yeah,
the episode's longer than this, so we got time.
yeah, good artists copy, great artists steal. That's a phrase I like. Um, but yeah, so it's basically how are we planning, building out the process, and then like essentially like mural boarding your system, right? And then implementing it and then validating that it works. It's the simplest way to explain it. And I think sometimes when we go, not we, a lot of people when they're doing things in AI, they just kind of throw it at it without a lot
Mhm.
of thought. And that can create a lot of extra code, a lot of garbage. And it doesn't really give you the results that you desire. You really have to spend time with your systems, your agents, your AI to be able to produce great results. And you can really tell who's good at it and who's bad at it. If you're still dealing with, thankfully now M dashes is kind of like thrown everywhere. But if you're still producing M dashes, you might want to be aware that like it's a pretty good tell that you're using AI because M dash to type in an M dash is like I'm gonna make someone that's like Control Alt 64 plus minus key.
For sure. I don't even know how to make one. I bump into people occasionally, and they're psychopaths. You know who you are listening. And they're like, "Yeah, I use them all the time. I'm even trying to make one now. How do I even" Oh, option and, dash. No, yeah, option and dash makes an M dash, okay. Yeah, but who does that, right? AI does that.
Yeah,
So, if you haven't taught it out of your AI, dang, you're behind.
yeah, and it will always talk like AI at first. So something I always do is I give it. So I'll take an email, I'll read it, I'll restructure it, give it back to it. This is
Yeah.
how I talk, and I'll keep doing it. I use something like Aqua Voice or I've got a little system I created locally with Parakeet where I basically talk to Slack and then it like transcribes it. And what's happening there is I'm feeding it how I talk to make sure that it represents me in the way that I would communicate. And I'm still reviewing all this information. It's not like I'm just
Mm.
having it send my emails for me. It's very much like, okay, yep, that checks out and that aligns with what I'm thinking.
I like that. I mean, it needs to hear how you're doing natural speech so that it can better form the speech that you give it. Yeah. You
Yeah.
know what I like doing? I like informing it with how other people speak, because sometimes I'm not the right one to speak to a particular situation. So it's like, don't listen to me. Like, how would so and so handle this particular situation? This guy's amazing at sales or whatnot, and well, how would he say this?
You do have your own personal though, right? Your own personal spin. So you have your own personal spin though, Casey. Like even you, it's an observation, but anytime I've chatted with you, it's always like leading with a compliment, how awesome somebody is. And you do that across the board and it's great. You bring in that warm greeting and it's like, what if your AI embodied that? And then it becomes like, I mean, I would do this. It may have done it for you. But at least if you're creating that second brain to be able to like take the load off. And that's, I think, a big concern a lot of people have today with AI is like, oh, it's going to replace all of our thought. And it's like, yeah, but do you go out and build a fire every time you're going to cook? Because I don't. But my ancestors used to, I'm sure, right? And like now I just have a stove.
Flint and steel, baby.
Yeah.
Bow, like a little bow drill every time.
So we're gonna open and unlock more thought in different areas. And you're right, I'm probably not gonna know how to code, but I'm gonna unlock and be more creative in other areas that I wasn't before. This idea that it's like, I'm not doom and gloom about it. I think I work with somebody who gave me a pretty good example that actually I'll save it the example, but it is doom and gloom for a lot of folks. I personally don't think it's gonna be doom and gloom. I think we're just gonna adjust and adapt. And the people who choose to get on the train and learn this stuff and care about it, they're the ones who are gonna succeed.
Yeah.
Hopefully in 10 years, I'm not eating my words right now and I'm underneath a bridge.
You and I are like shooting up at the sky with laser blasters because the
Yeah.
AI Skynet's actually, it wouldn't be coming after me because I say thank you. I say please and thank you, so I'm safe.
That's right. Yeah.
It's all you rude people that think that yelling at your AI. Do you recall that? I don't feel like I hear that as much anymore. But folks saying, if you yell at your AI, you get better results from it. Have you heard about that?
I have not. That's funny though.
Would you yell at it?
Well, I definitely don't yell at it. I definitely have gotten short with like when it starts messing up and I'm like, we just had this conversation like 2 lines up, but then I just open up a new thread. And usually that only happens if I'm using ChatGPT straight up or Claude straight up. So
I have definitely said that's a terrible idea, but yeah, I think what it was is the people that were saying that got better results after they did that. But what it was doing is it was matching their intensity and just giving them something more like them, So like I yelled at it, told it sucked, and then I got a really good result back. It's like, yeah, or you could have just told it, be intense like me. Here's a write-up of how I do my thing,
the feedback I want is the only feedback I agree with.
Tell you what, those alien robots are coming for that
Yeah.
person. It was like, you demeaned me 30 years ago. I'm coming for you.
Hopefully not, but
Well, hopefully not. But if it does, it's that guy, not us. So we're good.
Hey, marketing leaders, it's Amanda here from Ringmaster B2B Podcasting. In today's market, B2B buying is built on one thing: trust. And there's no better way to build that trust than through a podcast that builds connection. At Ringmaster, we help you launch and grow shows that will amplify your brand and can help drive real demand. The best part? We handle all the heavy lifting so you can focus on the big picture. So if you've been thinking about starting a podcast for your brand or taking your existing one to the next level, visit ringmaster.com to chat and book a call.
You mentioned the learn with a compliment. I've definitely found it interesting when you add that extra layer on top of AI to give it a personality. And what I've experimented with is actually giving it the same personality that I have, like a disc test, that kind of a thing. So, hey, if I'm a high I and some D, I have my AI with that same personality, and it feels way better because I might normally, just like you're describing them, the compliment or what, I might not like the responses I get to a prompt are like, hey, that's a cool idea. Let's try that out. Right. Which is exactly what I would say. So I'm like, yeah, let's try that out, as opposed to interesting. Let's find out more, which someone else might say, it's like, yeah, cool. Let's dive in. I'm like, let's dive in. It's like, let's dive in.
That's so fair. I never thought about that. Like a Myers-Briggs disc assessment, tossing that in. That's a really cool idea. That's great.
Yeah.
I like that.
Shout out to Day. They're the ones doing it. They're the ones that sort of made it easy for me to just click a button. But it's been great. Because at first I was like, uh-oh, does that mean they're going to be fun, creative, and forget all the details like me? And I was asking my agent that. He was like, no, don't worry. I actually will remember everything. I'll just have a nice personality on top of it. So essentially a better me. That's all.
Yeah.
Casey that actually remembers stuff. Cool. I'm in. Where do you see this going, man? Like, I know where we're at now. Things keep getting crazier, but like if you were to fast forward, which is obviously a hard question and completely unfair to ask you, but that's what I'll do. Where does this go?
My assumption is a lot of people, I think white collar is going to be hurting personally.
Yeah.
I think that if you're not diversifying your skill set today with AI, and by that I mean, I do think, you can go one or two ways. One is it could impact white collar pretty negatively in the sense that like either you learn it or you don't, and you're going to be in trouble. And then I think blue collar has a lot more, like the trades world has a lot more time
Yeah.
in the sense that it, robotics may replace labor workers, but at the same time, we're not there yet. I don't know how long that'll take, to be honest, but I can't imagine an AI or a robot doing plumbing underneath a house today, right? Not at this exact moment. The flip side of that is, and this is one I struggle with, is that, so my wife was going to the grocery store and I said, why don't I just create an AI assistant for you? And she's like, what do you mean? I was like, well, one that you can say, hey, throughout the week, can you put on the grocery list soy sauce? There's something probably that exists, but just like an example use case of something that easy to whip up. And in my head, though, if I'm thinking about that, it's like someday there's going to be an AI model, an LLM that can just do all of this for us, right? That can take the discerning tasks that we're giving it on a day to day, and it doesn't need to be built like we're building today. You're building something, you're giving it disk, you're giving it, like, we're spending a lot of time modeling these things. And I would assume at some point it's just going to be in a box. You open it up and you're good to go and it's done. And you can want to build an app, you can do that. And I think I had a conversation with a friend of mine yesterday who firmly disagrees with me, but I think it's going to hurt SaaS heavily, that world. I think if you're in the SaaS world, I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong because I don't want people to be like, you're a jerk, but it's going to be tough because people are just going to build their solutions. And yeah, that's what I think. I don't know, I'd love to be proven wrong. But it's going to be an interesting world. So being an early adopter, it's the only thing I can say.
Yeah. And it's just constantly changing, right? Like,
yeah, where we're at today versus where we were 2 months ago is night and day. Claude Code, when it came out, everyone flipped out, and now look at where it is. And I just think that there's a massive, like, N8N was my tool last year, I think around this time.
what tool?
N8N. N8N is a workflow tool, thinking similar to Zapier.
Oh, yeah. N8N. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, and that was my go-to. And I'm not saying that N8N is not a great solution, because I do think it serves a purpose.
Right.
But now I'm just using Claude Code, VS Code, and building everything within Python, because that's a better solution for me. And so I never thought I'd be there.
What is Claude Code? What does that fill? What need does that fill for you? What does that do?
So
I haven't used it yet.
Yeah, for sure.
It's okay. No one listens this far, but if they did, they could be embarrassed with me. But no, I haven't used it yet. I've heard about it though.
Yeah, for sure. So anything you want to build, I mean, really, that's digital. Like, Claude Code can help you. There's a whole lot of nuance to what I just said, but I now know the basic architecture, and I'm sure a developer would be like, you do not. But I know the basic architecture from taking these courses on how things need to look. And then I have Claude Code help me code it and build it and validate it through that pivot loop, and being able to ensure that what I'm building is stable. Where in using N8N, things have not been stable. And it's a great GUI, like, it's a great interface, a great UI. This is just not as sexy, but at the same time, to me, it's more stable, and it's more, I can keep building on top of it versus N8N. And there's probably an argument that you can keep building on N8N. I just gravitated personally towards Claude Code. The integration, the OAuth, APIs, everything that I can go into are just so perfect. And it's easy. Like, you can have Claude Code today. If you open up Code Viewer on your Mac, it sounds like you have a Mac because you said command.
I do.
You can give it dangerous whatever permissions, where it can literally control your computer. So that saves me a ton of time. I don't want to have to go create files and markdown structure. I just tell it what I want and it does it for me. And using Aqua Voice or a solution like it, I just double tap, hold on my computer on the right, and I just say, here's what I need you to do, Claude Code. I need you to go ahead and build out this, and this. Here's my structure of what I want to do. Go make it happen. I validate that it actually happened, that it worked, implement it, and then keep testing. If anything goes wrong, I just fix it. And I tell it to fix it. That's why I spent $200 a month on Claude.
Yeah. It sounds like you're getting your money's worth out of it too.
Yeah, it's a personal expense as well. So
what did you say? You hit a tab button and you just start talking? Is it kind of like Whisper Flow?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I use Aqua. Paid for a year subscription.
Yeah, something about speaking to the computer, that when it can handle it and process it fast enough, that it's way better.
For sure.
Typing. which is interesting because I can type pretty fast, like
And
faster than my friends. But
you probably though talk differently and give more context. And as you're thinking, so typing, I mean, you might be different than me, but I have to like really think it before I type. Whereas when I talk to it, I can conceptualize while I'm talking. That's how my brain works. So like I'm like, what about this? And what I have about where about this? And in my brain, I'm seeing a whiteboard and I'm putting puzzle pieces together and I'm communicating it to Claude to say, let's start from the structure. How do we first consolidate everything I just told you into some key notes and takeaways to be able to then go build this?
yeah,
It's like your best friend.
yeah, I always needed a best friend, and now I got one. My $200, and I only pay it $200 a month to listen to me and
Yeah.
do what I say. Um, I'm the same way. Obviously with other people, if they have different styles and different modes and whatnot. But for those that the talking thing, and it's a little bit of you have to practice that and get used to it. But yeah, I've been I had sent a good friend, shout out to Aaron. I sent him this text message. I was explaining something or just checking in, and I was using Apple's text correction, Apple's voice to text kind of thing,
Mhm.
which is somewhat new for me. I tend to be a little bit of a laggard sometimes, but yeah, somewhat new to me. But it just butchered it. It was like talking to him about giraffes and zebras, and we were not talking about giraffes and like what is even and he just responded to that with like, dude, you need whisper flow. You need some other thing that can capture this that isn't completely messed up. So I started experimenting with that. But I think you made such a huge point around you give it more context. Like it's just that much easier. Yeah, if you're typing, at some point I'm like, okay, let's just get the stuff in, right? But if you're talking, you could ramble, kind of like I'm
Yeah.
doing right now. And eventually you have this like mighty context of 4 paragraphs that we're only going to type one.
Think about it from a coaching perspective even. Like so like removing the need for just automation. If you build a coach and you have conflict within your work and you don't want the conflict, but you want it to hear your side, but you know that it has to also hear the other side. So now you can remove like it's like I need you to coach me through this to make this better for me because I want this or I need this. And having that ability to communicate all the problems and have it sort of peer through here's where you need to get to and here's how we get there together. It's really helpful. I use it for one-on-one prep. I use it for um, situations that like pre-coaching ahead of time before a call. Like I'm like, hey, I'm going to
Oh
this
yeah.
call based on historical calls. How do you feel like I need to react and what's the role that I play? Which has been a great reminder before I jump in to be like, hey, maybe keep your mouth shut on this call. Like just listen, and that's hard for me. So I always want to throw my opinion.
Same problem. My discovery calls used to be, let me tell you about me while I'm supposed to be discovering about you.
Yeah.
And that quickly shifted with some feedback, just saying like, hey man, like you would get a lot more done if you maybe asked a few more questions and got them talking more and here's some great question that you should ask that I'm curious about. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, great. Now I have like a roadmap,
And now
um,
you're getting feedback the way you want to receive it.
the way I want to receive it. Yeah. Especially, presented to me in maybe the same personality that the way I'd receive it.
Hmm.
Um, yeah. Yeah. And I've gotten much better. Like my discovery calls are like fantastic compared to what they were. I'm not a professional salesperson by any means, but I found that I'm able to upskill. I mean, and to your point though, that would work on everything, one-on-ones, like internal meetings, everything. Just getting some feedback on it. And one of the times, it frequently tells me don't demo Day AI because sometimes I'll go off on a tangent and be like, "Oh my God, there's this AI app you totally have to check out." And it's like, it's funny because it's giving advice on like, don't pitch me in your meeting. And it's like just stay on target, and it's been helpful. And I try not to, but I violate that one. So.
That's funny.
Yeah, but it's interesting though. The first time I asked it for feedback in this sort of setup, it did what my son, shout out to John, would call glazing. It glazed me. I was like, "Hey, look at all my calls. Tell me how good or bad they are. Give me some good feedback. You can be honest, right?" And it came back like, "You're a 4.9 out of 5. You're a 5. You're a 5. You're a this." I was like, "Okay, that is that is not true." Um, I don't exactly know the number is, but it's not that. So I was like, no way. Try again. a couple other things, and it came back with, all right, here's the real deal. It's this and this and this. So yeah, there's still that human aspect. I find it's the dialogue. What do you think?
Yeah, also what you feed it. So like I feed it links. So like
Yeah.
I'll find something that's like, hey, like right now I'm working on a presentation that's around market research, and there's a book called Where We Play and How We Win, I think. And so being able to give it pieces of the book that I'm like, okay, this was really helpful, and like give it even the book title and say like, go research everything related to this. I want to build my PowerPoint off of this structure.
Yeah.
Help me do that. And I think I've oftentimes found myself like, I need you to go search for this. And then that way, when I go ask it the question, I know it's not going to just like butter me up and be like, you're so great. It's like, no, call me where I suck. Like, tell me where my gaps are. I want to hear it. I just want to hear it in a good way. So,
I love it, dude. But really my next question for you is like, who are you? Who are you? How do you know these things? Can you take me back in time, little you days? Did you know you're going to be marketing leader, entrepreneur, innovator, all this, all at the same time, podcast host?
yeah, not a chance. Yeah, I grew up in Minnesota, a smaller town, and had a very interesting childhood, very interesting. But through that, I kind of dabbled in marketing. I think my first like marketing job was at a nightclub at 16 years old or something along those lines, and
Wow.
it wasn't really marketing. I think I worked coat check a lot of the times. But it was like where I dipped my toes. Worked in music for a pretty big bulk of my like early, like pre 21, early 20s. I was underage touring with a rock band. That was sick. Dropped out of
Good.
college pretty early to go tour with the rock band, and was a tour manager. And I don't know, it's been a really wild ride. That went into healthcare for a long stint there, and kind of ended up snowballing into where I am today. I bounced around a few other places, but um, didn't know I'd be here. Didn't know I'd be working in hardware. Didn't know I'd be in marketing. I probably thought that I would have been like some actor or something like that. And that obviously did not happen. So, didn't even think I'd be married and have kids. And here we are. So,
Dang.
yeah.
Well, a question for you then. If you can go back in time and meet yourself, right? Back in those younger days, maybe pre the tour. I don't know. Tell me what a good time is before you went on tour. Talk to that guy, that David. What would you tell yourself?
Something along the lines of be patient and it's all going to work out. Like it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
I think like, when you're young, at least for me, there was a lot of uncertainty of like what would happen in life. How was I going to make ends meet? How was I going to survive? Like, um, I was early in Minnesota. I was on food stamps, just
Oh,
living
wow.
in a porch and at a buddy's house in a rental. If you don't know anything about Minnesota, it gets cold, and being on a porch with a bed, and there was frost on my sheets because I couldn't have a
Wow.
heater in there, and it was definitely like it was rough. But I think I just didn't lose that hustle of like, I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna figure it out. And I think it took an opportunity. There was one guy I met at a bar when I moved to Nashville, and his name's Dustin. And I credit the guy with like being the person that really helped me sort of get on my feet. It gave me an opportunity. Was like, it was called an IP config book on how to develop a program within AS400. It was called HMS, and it was for a medical record. It was basically a medical record system on the billing side for a company called Community Health Systems. And he was like, if you can learn this, I'll get you a job. And that was the part. Like I spent weekends basically learning it. I worked with him on it, and it was
Wow.
like I remember getting the job and screaming so loud in my car that the windows fogged up on the freeway on 40 going home, and being like, my life is now forever changed. And I didn't take it for granted. I worked my tail off, and yeah, just kept investing in myself and my career. And so to be here in a home, it sounds silly that I own, having a wife and a child, and it's super sick. I'm not gonna lie, like I'm really thankful. Like I wish yeah, I don't know how else to sell it outside of like, this was not expected where I'm at today. And I'm super thankful that I was given an opportunity, a chance to be successful. So I know not everyone is. So
Yeah. Well, and man, the gratefulness to be able to look back and be like, "Phew," and to appreciate things. Sometimes you don't really appreciate the nice things unless you don't have them. And so you've got that unique experience to be able to look at it and just be like, man, Minnesota does get cold. For anyone who has not been there, I went for the Super Bowl, and I'm from New England, and so I can do cold. But I gotta tell you, Minnesota is a different kind of cold. I was walking around the downtown, and I remember my neck was like, "Hey, Brain, I'm cold." And I'm like, "Neck? I have not ever heard from you." Like walking around, and my neck was like, "No, no, for real, I'm cold. Can you please give me a scarf?" So I literally went and bought a scarf because it was just that like wind chill and that grill. It was just so, man, to come from that kind of a place. And yeah, I mean, what would you attribute it to? Just working hard?
I think there's probably a little bit of luck in there. Like putting myself in the right positions at the right times. I never took any opportunity for granted. Like it was
Yeah.
like it didn't matter what it was. I just jumped at it and tried the best. I literally a singer in a rock band taught me how to do my first emails. Now, granted, he's a pretty successful singer, but he like taught me here's how you need to be an agent. Here's how you write an email. And I was like, okay. And there was never. I always played like the little brother. And finally in my life, I've transitioned to, all right, now I have something to offer. And yeah, I think just being hungry, like being and having that drive. And I think a lot of people always say like hustle, hustle, hustle. And it wasn't just that. It was like, yes, hustle played a part, but it was putting myself in situations that allowed me to be successful and um being curious, wanting to solve problems, feeling like I could solve the problem even if I didn't know anything about it, and putting my hand up to say, I want to fix it. I want to be a part of the solution. And I think that helped me in my career to be able to progress pretty quickly. And yeah, it's awesome.
Damn. Um, what would you tell that guy?
Be patient.
Be patient.
Yeah.
It's gonna work out. Hey, well, quick question. Do you think you would listen to yourself if you showed up from the future?
I'd be asking him to give me something. Can you
Yeah,
just
you'd be
give
like,
me something? Can you give me like money? Can you give me
"Hey,
food?
give
Can
me
you
20. Cool advice, man. Can you give me $20? You know?
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's no if I could literally bring younger me in and have him look out my window to like we have an alpaca farm here and like just to be like, what is wrong with you? Like where's this life? Like, did you win the
Yeah.
lottery? Like, um, it's it's unfathomable, to be fair. But yeah, I don't know. It's everybody's got their own journey. And I think being in the suck for so long was good for me. Like
Yeah.
regardless, like I feel like there's one thing I will say among all is that the people who have been in the suck, you're not going to beat them. Like you can cut them down, you can tear them down. If they're personable and they've been there, it's like there's nothing you can do to hurt me. I've already won. Like I beat the odds,
Yeah.
like I wasn't supposed to be here and I'm here. So, and in context, like I wasn't a great student. I struggled in normal academics. And so to me, like anybody that's been through that suck and then made it out, I'm always like, just that's so good for you. Like way to make it work. And I know that they'll always continue to progress and grow because they're gonna hustle 10 times harder than the other guy. Typically, not always. There's some anomalies out there that, grew up in a much better situation that are still very successful and still very work very hard. So
Yeah. But they're not gonna beat you, man. Yeah. It's tenacity. Yeah. Well, dude, how do people reach out and connect with you?
yeah, just LinkedIn, just my name. That's probably the
Okay.
easiest way. I'd give you my phone number, but um,
Yeah. Let's
yeah,
go.
LinkedIn's probably the best.
Cool. Yeah, we'll link right to that from the show notes too. That'll be good.
Sweet. Thanks.
Well, dude, thank you so much for coming on here. Just kind of hanging out for a bit and man, talking about trust, talking about authority, talking about AI, a little hack, got a little vibey today. I loved it. Learned some things. Damn, I learned a bunch of acronyms I did not know that I need to follow up on. Got inspired with Claude Code. Just so much good stuff here, man. I appreciate you.
Yeah, appreciate you, Casey. If obviously I'm always here to help. So if there's anything you need.
Hell yeah. And for those listening, if you learned something, I freaking know you did. Literally have 2 pages of notes over here, front and back, right? Then share this with someone else, one person even. Could be 9,000, but maybe one person, maybe someone who's kind of lagging behind on the AI side or their content just lacks. No one eats their content because it's not yummy. And there's no expertise, there's no trust there. Then give them the link to this episode and let David teach them the way. With that, Thank you again, dude. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Casey. Appreciate it.
All right, everyone. It's been a crazy cool, very exciting episode of the Connect to Market pod. We will see you all next time. And that wraps up another episode. Thank you for joining. For show notes and other episodes, visit us at connecttomarket.com. Connect to Market is sponsored by Ringmaster, creating podcasts and communities that create relationships, generate revenue, and drive growth.